Hi again. So, in this lecture, we're going to see how to reprogram or flash the BIOS chip step by step. So, I will explain to you how to program the BIOS, a failed BIOS, in the computer because I didn't receive yet my new programmer. Okay? So my old programming is failed, so I still waiting until I receive my new programmer. Okay, so now I will explain to you and I will teach you how to flash the BIOS step by step in the computer. Just follow me and you will understand everything. Okay, and the working principle is the same. By understanding the scores, you can flash any BIOS using any programmer. Okay, because the working principle is the same. Always we have the programmer, the software, the firmware, and the BIOS chip, and of course the cable, the USB cable that connects between the computer and the programmer. Okay, so let's get started. So to program a BIOS, we need four things. We need first the BIOS itself. Okay, the BIOS IC. So the BIOS IC, we should remove it from the motherboard. This is the BIOS IC. Let's assume that this BIOS is a failed chip. Okay, so we should remove it from the motherboard. Okay, and then install it in each support and then install the support in the EEPROM. So we need first the BIOS IC and we need the programmer, okay, and the software. Okay, so the software is an application that can help us to transfer the firmware from the laptop, the computer, to the BIOS IC. Okay, so here the firmware is in the computer, and of course via the software we will transfer this firmware to the BIOS IC, and then we will go and install the BIOS IC in the motherboard, and the motherboard will work fine. So we need four things: the IC, the programmer, and the software and the firmware. Okay, so of course using this kind of programmer, as we have seen before, you should remove the BIOS IC. But using this kind of programmer, as you can see, this programmer that contain this clip, as you can see here, the clip contain here adaptation, as you can see, that you can install directly in the BIOS IC. Okay, so using this programmer, as you can see, you can flash it or program the IC without removing it from the motherboard. Okay, because of this clip, as you can see. Okay, so of course the programmer contain many accessories, as you can see here. So the first accessory, as you can see, is the software. So for example, for this kind of programmer, as we have seen before, the TL866, you will get with the programmer the software, as you can see in the CD-ROM. Okay, you will get the software here in the CD-ROM, or if you want, you can download it from the internet. And of course, you will get with the programmer many adapters, as you can see. You will get many adapters, not just two adapters, but many adapters. So you will get 8-pin adapters for 8-pin BIOS, 16-pin adapters, and even other adapters that you can use with other kind of BIOSes, like the old BIOSes. Okay, you will get also the USB cable, as you can see. This USB cable, use it to connect the programmer to the laptop. Okay, use it to connect the programmer to the laptop, and of course you will get the extractor. So this is the extractor that you can use to extract and to install the BIOS in the adapters. Okay, so of course after connecting between the programmer and the laptop, and then you put the BIOS chip into EEPROM, you install it, okay, then you can launch your program. You can go to the software and choose program, and then the program will pass. When you program the BIOS, this, as you can see here, in the EEPROM there is two LED. This LED is for the power, and the second LED is for run. Once you launch the program process, this lead will be eliminated, the run lead, until you get here finish, or the BIOS programmed successfully. Okay, so now I will go right now and explain to you the software interface. Okay, so as you can see, this is the software interface. As you can see, we have the Mini Pro version 6.85. okay, so we have here tabs. This is the file tab that you can use to open or save, copy or paste, etc. the firmwares. Here we have select. Over here, of course, you can select which IC, BIOS IC you will use. For example, here we have 8 pins or 16 pins, as you can see. So here we have project. You can open a project or save it. Here we have device. You can read or verify or program. So you can use this tab to program the BIOS, or even you can use this here, this button here. As you can see, here we have P means programmer. Here we have read. Okay, the same button as we have here. So read, verify. You can verify the BIOS, the firmware in the BIOS, program the BIOS, blank check, serial number of the BIOS, multi-program. You can just click here to program many BIOSes in the same time. Of course, you can use also this, as you can see, multi-program, this button here. Okay, so here we have tools. This is some tools like calculator, like system self check, okay, help and language. So here, as you can see, we have other buttons here. As you can see, for example, this is blank check. Here we have auto 25 select. Here we have to verify. You can just click here and click verify in order to verify the BIOS chip. Okay, so here you have fill. As you see, fill buffer. You can fill the buffer. For example, you can pick an address, for example, and go, as you say, start address and end address value. You can fill the address with this value. For example, here we have addresses. Okay, if you want to change some values in the firmware. Okay, so here, as you can see, you can read. So you can read, as you see, this is a very important button here. So before programming any BIOS, you should first read it and then make a backup. Okay, once you click read, as you can see here, I have device unavailable because I didn't connect any BIOS. Okay, so once you click read, the firmware will be uploaded here, and then you can make the backup. Okay, you can make the backup of this firmware and of course save the firmware. So here, as you see, program. So this is the button that you can use to program, as you can see, the IC. So once you click program, the IC will be programmed. Okay, and here, of course, if you want to program many ICs in the same time, as you see, device 1, device 2, 3 and 4. Okay, you can press program device 1, etc. Okay, here, by clicking here, you will get all informations about the IC that is installed. And of course, here you can select the IC that you want. For example, okay, you can select the IC you want. For example, you can check the company you want. For example, let's check, for example, Intel. Let's write here Intel, for example. We have here Intel company, as you can see, and then look for the a reference of your BIOS, as you can see, and then press select, as you see. Okay, or you can just go and detect your IC. Okay, so that's all about how to program the BIOS. So it's pretty easy. So to summarize, if you have a failed BIOS chip, and depending on the program you have, so if you have the program, for example, TL866, like this programmer, you should remove the IC from the motherboard and then connect it to its adapter and then program it by connecting the programmer to the laptop and by launching the software, okay, and then you can program the IC. But if you have a programmer like this that have the clip, you can program your BIOS without removing it from the motherboard. You can just connect this clip to the BIOS in the motherboard and connect this EEPROM, as you can see, or this programmer to the USB of the laptop and launch the software, and then you can program the BIOS. So it's pretty easy, okay?